You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Anthony Stolarz may be out, but David Kampf is back. Presented by Bet365, it's time for the Wednesday edition of Leafs Morning Take. Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with you. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Use code NATION, all in uppercase today. That's NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. What's going on, Rosie? How are we feeling today?
The Savior returns tonight. Yeah, I don't know why we're hard on David Kampf, but he makes a good chunk of dough, but he's pretty solid. I don't know. We're talking about all the big boys and stuff like that in the news as David Kampf return. It's hard to get too jazzed up, but, maybe they'll have a night tonight.
All right, can I sell you on Robertson versus Robertson tonight? Is that a bigger sell?
Well, considering he's coming off a pretty solid game, Bobby McRobertson, maybe you could try to fit that in. But how's his brother doing? Like, kind of was stupid hot like 2-3 years ago and not so much since, or is he still up there?
Yeah, he's had his issues this year. Lately, he started to cook a bit. I still think Jason Robertson is a premier player in this league. It just shows you the turbulency early on in a career where you can be hot for 1 second, not for the other. It's hard to be consistent in this league. And as we know here in Toronto, that's been a evolving story with Nick Robertson. But yeah, Jason's been much hotter as of late. And it's always fascinating to look at this matchup every time the Maple Leafs take on the Dallas Stars. Our super chat, by the way, Rosie, charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a super chat. Proceeds from our super chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world as you get set for the Leafs and the Dallas Stars tonight, bud.
I like that. Yeah, the Stars are kind of they interest me. I never get to watch them, but I mean, I love Dallas. I love Texas. I kind of think the Stars are cool. Ben, I'm a fan of the way he's old school, and they just never seem to be able to get it done in the playoffs and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see them stack up against the Maple Leafs tonight and get a look at them. Because like I said, I like everything about that organization. I just never seem to come across them or watch them or see them.
So now that we had a chance to decompress and take in what's transpired in the last 24 hours regarding Anthony Stolarz, the Pebble, the procedure happening in New York City, how are we feeling today?
Oh, I'm just living in leafy land still, which is fine. It's all good. It's, I mean, the nice thing about it, like, of course it happens, but we just can't have a goalie that's going to do what Anthony Stolarz has done this year without some adversity, without some drama, without him going down, without us being told it's very minor and then being told it's the typical 4 to 6 and he's getting surgery on his knee. Like, Jesus. But we're going to roll with it. And the thing is that you have to remind yourself is we got 2 damn good goalies. It's not like it's not like all our eggs were in the Anthony Stolarz basket and now we're going to this garbage we hope we never had to use. We got Joseph Woll there, and we were just talking before we came on air, like, are they going to ride Woolsey decently hard here? And we're like, well, that ain't the plan with Woolsey when he's the one who's injury prone. So we'll see how it goes. But like I said, we've got viable backups, not even a backup, but Joseph Woll is like one of the #1 goalies here in town. And then I'd like to get a taste of Hildeby and see if he can, keep us in some games, maybe steal one and see what his level of development is like at this point.
Honestly, I think it's a bit scary and problematic, to be honest, knowing Joseph Woll's injury-riddled past. But don't you want a guy that you can rely on? Like, that part of me scares me quite a bit because you really can't ride Joseph Woll, but can you? Like, you pay this guy to be your goaltender, and I just wonder behind the scenes, we'll never know what the case is, how they feel about that. Can they put him out there and say, like, 3 or 4? Do they feel comfortable doing that? What's the message being relayed between the two sides? Like, we'll never get a true frank answer on it. And I think it's so interesting, right? Because at the end of the day, this guy's paid to play for you. And at which point, like, is there a barometer where you're like, you know what? We don't care about Joseph Woll's injury history past, and we're just going to put him out there. That's my question.
Yeah, I know. And I know I'm in the same boat. Like, 3 of 4 is a pretty damn good test. Can you do it twice? I just feel like if you keep playing with fire, you're going to get burnt. And I mean, we've already had this conversation. Will he stay healthy? Will he stay healthy? And he's already gone down this year before the season even started. Can you ride him and try to say, hey, we need you right now. We're going to lean on you. Can you produce? We know he can stop pucks, but can you stay healthy? And then if he goes down after a week and a half into Stolar's 6 week layover, then what? Then what? Now, are we just going to slide down the standings? Can Hildeby, like, we're talking now? We're back now. Our eggs are in the Matt Murray basket. Like, it's scary. So I think you want to be cautious with riding him, and for that reason, I wonder, do you ride him 3 and 4? Do you split it with Hildeby, and do you split it with him against who? And what if Hildeby looks, like he's not ready or unconfident or has some squeakers or some weak ones or gets pulled? It's like, it's funny. For how deep we are, I just know that there are some concerns at that position, just because now our kind of what's been our rock all year long, and Anthony Stolarz is down, and now we're on thin ice, I feel like, with Joseph Woll. And maybe that's not fair, but it kind of is, just based on the checkered past with injuries. So it'll be interesting to see how they put him out there, and how many games they ride him, and how much workload they put on Joseph Woll's lap, because it's pretty detrimental to keep him healthy as well.
It is. And truthfully, I think it's going to be a joint effort. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I would recall Matt Murray. I mean, at this point, what is the point of employing Matt Murray? Like, this is why you have Matt Murray, for insurance purposes. And quite frankly, he's been waiting in the wings for this opportunity to play in the NHL. He's had a pretty decent season, 3-1-2, 2.15, a 9.15, one shutout. We talked about it on yesterday's show. He did get banged up, tweaked something about a week ago, missed about a week, back on the ice this past weekend in relief, by the way. I think he was 13 for 13. So he's healthy. I mean, that is always a big question, ironically enough, when it comes to Matt Murray. But I see way more pros than cons in calling up Matt Murray and reassigning Dennis Hildeby to the American Hockey League. He's 23. I still think it's emphatically clear that he needs seasoning at the AHL level. And you're not stunting or hurting or whatever way you want to call it his development. You have a guy who has won 2 Stanley Cups. I know he's more of a veteran now, but still has proven the innate ability to play at the NHL level. He just can't stay healthy. So I think it's a simple decision. You call up Matt Murray. Do you agree?
I mean, it's a take that's kind of hard to argue with. I feel like, see how this week goes with Hildeby. Give him a start, right? He's 23. He's not 19. I'm pulling up his numbers here on the Marlies. 6 games, 3, 5, 2, 2, 7, 3, 8, 9. Like, they're not bad. It's a small sample size, but things. It could be a story. I think you give him a chance. You give Hildeby a chance. He's gone in before and looked pretty good. He's big body. I think he has the potential. And just as we were talking about with Minton the last month, sometimes the C's part, it gives you an avenue, and a guy like him can take it. You give him an opportunity and see what he does with it. If it goes ho-hum or whatever, then I'm absolutely open to that conversation. Like you said, his pedigree is there. And remember when he was like our goalie, the guy, he can play damn good hockey in between the pipes if he's healthy.
Yeah.
And I think that he will get a chance during this run, unless Hildeby just like emerges as this guy that can absolutely handle it, and he's kicking everything out and he's getting more confident by the day. And we're talking about, who would you play tonight? Would you play Woll or would you play Hildeby? If we start having that conversation, I mean, by all accounts, things would be going phenomenally. That's quite possible. I want to see if that's even possible. But during the 6-week run, I think that there's a very damn good chance we will see Matt Murray. I wouldn't pick up the phone right now. I would give this week as Hildeby's chance to say, I can be here and be the backup and help Joseph Woll out during this period.
Yeah, that's exactly actually what I wrote in a piece over at the LeafsNation.com, where I said the decision does need to be made now. There's a back-to-back coming up this weekend at Buffalo, then home to the Islanders, where I think at the very least, Hildeby has earned another start. Having said that, I got a long memory. I was on social media on Sunday. The Leafs were down a couple goals against Buffalo, and everybody was calling for Hildeby's head. I mean, we've watched him play 3 games this year. He's at his ups. He's had his downs. I mentioned he's 23. I do think he needs more seasoning. This gives him an opportunity to play some games at the AHL level. They have depth in the crease right now when it comes organizationally speaking, excuse me. So I think if you're going to do it, it's now. And as mentioned, it's not like you have some Joe Schmo waiting in the wings. You have Matt Murray. I think he has proven again, when healthy, he can be a good enough NHL goaltender. It's more so the health conversation with Murray. So I couldn't agree more. I think at some point in time, whether it's today, whether it's a week from now, we are going to see Matt Murray get recalled. Because I think, when I look at it, the only con of the whole situation, I look at it as a positive. Let's say Matt Murray gets called up. He looks really good. And upon the return of Anthony Stolar, excuse me, you've got to put him on waivers, and some team puts in a claim and say, we want Matt Murray. I call that a win. I mean, there's a reason why you signed this guy. And that's the worst case scenario. I'll take it.
Yeah, and that's a long shot too. But that would be kind of the worst case scenario is he's absolutely terrible or he gets injured in warm up or something. But
hey, put him back in the AHL. You call up Hildeby. It's pretty simple.
See you later. It's not a lot of risk, and that's because we do have depth. Like we've been talking about the depth of our goaltenders with Stolars and Woll, and then it's like, oh yeah, and Hildeby is like, he's got tons of potential. He's a good prospect. And then Matt Murray, like you say, 2 cups and pedigree, and he's been here before. It wouldn't be completely unfamiliar surroundings for him to get in that position. And I do believe that he will be in that position sooner than later. And I got to admit, I'm kind of caught because I wasn't able to watch the games this weekend. So I'm sitting here thinking, I want to see what Hildeby looks like. He's already been in there. So I got caught there without being a little bit up to date on where he's at. But was he kicking, or was he looking confident, or he, like you said, they're calling for his head because they're down and they come back and then all is forgotten, but he looked a little bit average. Was it? I'd be interested to see him with my own eyes here.
Yeah, a bit of this, a bit of that. I think with every young goaltender, and he's let a couple stinky ones in, not just that Buffalo game, but you can see the inconsistency in his game. Having said that, again, from day one, we've seen why the organization really loves this kid. It's just more so an opportunity to play. And at the NHL level, you're not going to get that, specifically when Stolars and Woll are up or one of the guys are down. Like, it's predominantly going to be the guy who has had the NHL games, whether it's Woll or Stolars. That's why I'm just saying at this juncture in Hildeby's career, you want him playing games. Right now, I don't see a split. I don't see a timeshare with Woll and Hildeby. Like, Woll's the number one guy, but there's always the concern. That's why we're having the Murray conversation, right?
Yeah, for sure. And like, I'd like that opportunity. This is how a goalie gets experience at the big level, as opportunity presents itself in the Anthony Stolar's injury. So that's great. And then it just depends on, like, even if it doesn't really go well, it's still an experience for the guy to build from, and that helps development. Even if it doesn't go well, you're under the lights, you're preparing for the big game, you drive to that rink and see the lights going, and you get that jitters going, you get the nervousness, and everyone's texting you. The whole experience of playing is valuable, and then you have it. And yeah, I don't think that they'll switch hit the whole time. He'll probably go back to the minors with that experience, whether he plays a game this week or not. I think he will. I think he's going to play a game this week. And then they're going to say, okay, if we're going to need to ride a guy with experience and really lean on him, it's probably better suited to be Matt Murray. But I think they're giving their prospect a look. And now that we got the news on Stoley being longer term than we think, we understand that we don't want to lean on Woll, or then we're really looking at some big trouble. Then you are leaning on Hildeby and on Murray, and that's not exactly the position you want to be in. So take it easy with Woll. I think that sooner than later here, probably depending on what happens, but after this week, I think Matt Murray might be seen and he might be leaned on a bit too in the upcoming weeks.
It is interesting when you bring that conversation up, because you know how long it's been since Matt Murray has played an NHL game?
What year is it? 24. He probably played in early 2022, maybe?
626 days. His last NHL game, April 2nd, 2023.
April 2nd, 23. It's not bad. It's not too bad. Who cares? Who cares? He's got 2 cups under his belt. He's been playing pro for years and years and years. He knows where he's at in his career. He doesn't have the pressure of the world, or this is my last shot and this is my last. He knows where it's at. He knows what's going on. Oh, another shot with the big club. fucking bring it on, man. I could see him coming in with confidence, playing well, saying, I can still do this. I've just had brutal luck with injuries. I've already got my cup rings. I've had my day in the sun. Come in without a ton of pressure, saying, hell, this is going to be fun, and see what he can do with it. I could see him doing just bloody fine.
Meantime, accountability is a big word we like to throw around this podcast. There's one dude specific, I forget his name, but I think his daily thing to do is just try to hunt me and Zach Phillips down and make us accountable and just chirp us. Like, I don't think he's got a job. He just chirps us in the chat. But he brought to light in yesterday's podcast that Matt Murray is in fact back after said Matt Murray was hurt. My bad. I should have been tracking the Toronto Marlies a bit stronger over the weekend. I do cover the Toronto Maple Leafs. So my apologies. And thank you for making it so fun doing this podcast on a daily basis. I will mention, again, I forget this dude's name, but on a daily basis, I read the mentions, and I think he's just there to like try to bring me down. So
is that
he's going to be on
a live chat, this guy, or is he just in the comments and stuff?
I don't know. He's somewhere, but he's going to
works.
be. It's not going to happen for me. I hope we see him on the Nation vacation. We'll say that. You can join us in Music City from Thursday, March 20th to Sunday, March 23rd, 2025. For the first ever TLN Nation vacation, we're offering 2 packages, one with flights priced at $24.50 plus tax, one without $12.99 plus tax. Please note hotel rooms are double occupancy. For more information on how to book, head on over to nationgear.ca or check out the link in our show bio. We're getting closer and closer to the Nation vacation, Rosie. Your Predators won last night. That's the only team you bet on these days.
Did I bet for them?
It's true.
I don't know. I think against them.
Did you? No, I think you bet on the Preds yesterday. It was like Preds against Rangers. They both stink, but you bet on the Preds.
It is ugly. I thought the Rangers would pull one out for Lavi there, but on that Nation vacation, I don't know, man. We're starting to lean towards getting like some kind of a ring set up, maybe in that winery we're gonna go to, and maybe me and you tag team match against Donkey Boy and Will Farmer, and just have a heyday. That'd bring the crowd, that'd bring the money, I would say.
Man, I gotta find this guy. I felt like I would probably make his year, make his life. I brought his name up on this podcast for just taking time on a daily basis to try and chirp me and Zach Phillips in the chat and tell us to do a better job. Yet he's here every day to watch this podcast. So
I think you just opened yourself up for getting chirped even harder. But hey, no press is bad press, right, buddy?
Exactly. I just always laugh, like people chirp and then they just watch on a daily basis. There's 13,000 Leafs podcasts out there. If you want to go watch another one or listen to another one, there's not a lot of one that are digital, then go by all means.
I know it's fun. Like when I first started doing this, if I had a hot take or something, I would kind of go read the comments, and if there was a negative one, I'd go, it hurt me in the feels. Now I just laugh my ass off, like, oh God, there's so many people out there, so many takes, and people love ripping on the internet. And then oftentimes when I'll go back and like be like, what didn't you like about it? Do you not agree with this? And like call them on, they're like, yo, dude, sorry, just didn't mean to chirp about. And then they're all like super nice. It's like, man, it's weird when people get behind a screen and don't feel like there's any accountability. And then you put them on the stage. All right, say your piece, and they just cower. It's kind of interesting. I'm not getting used to it.
Should make a new show. I don't even know if MTV's a thing where you get to face like the keyboard warriors, the people who chirp you, and get like 3 minutes in a ring with them.
Yeah, I don't think many guys would show up, to be honest with you.
No, just make them show up. You're contractually obligated. If you watch or listen to this show, you got to show up.
That'd be worth some clicks.
I got to just speed bag you for chirping my eyebrows, my beautiful Italian eyebrows. Anyways, we're over time.
Could you dust decent? Been any?
I've been in one scrap. I mentioned this. I've been in one scrap in my life, and I was just fighting for my life in a just brawl for all at Fanshawe College, man. We had these drunk ass Serbians who lived next door. They were nuts. They were crazy. They jumped one of my buddies. I got involved. I got in the mix. Sometimes you just got to do it, man.
Might be time for number 2 to get under your belt there, son.
Yeah. I would love to scrap a keyboard warrior from our YouTube chat. You know why?
All right, any takers?
Then they meet me in person and they're like, "Wow, didn't realize you were that big." You're a 6'3", 205.
That is the case with you, man. You seem like just average height dude, and you're quite towering. You might be taller than me. I don't know.
I think we're about the same height.
We'll have to do it at Nation Vacation and do a little up against the wall, putting our marks on the door frame like we're
Imagine, remember that as a kid?
Yeah.
There's like a pencil.
Oh yeah, that's the classic growing up in a house thing. You can't paint over that shit.
No, you can, man. It's just it's growth. It's growth, and that's what we're looking for, not only in this podcast, but in the Toronto Maple Leafs. So we got another interview lined up with Biz Nasty. This shit was awesome. It was like 20 minutes. That's coming up in about 10. We're gonna play this interview with Biz.
We're the just interview fire right now. Yesterday with multiple guests, Stephen Brunt, as well as Mayday himself, Brad May, and then following up here with Biz Nasty. So it's been a good week, buddy. Back in the saddle for me after a little hiatus. Whew, I got thrown into the fire last night though. That was cool.
The best part about the interview was asking Biz what his go-to order is at Houston's. And he went on for like 2 minutes. I thought he was just going to be like the pizza or like the steak, but this dude like listed off his entire order. So that's coming up with Biz. Can't wait for tonight's edition of the Leafs Nation After Dark with Zach Phillips and guest Jay Rosehill, who's going to break down this Stars Leafs game. By the way, it's confirmed Jake Ottinger against Joseph Woll, the starters in this game.
Ooh, baby, we got the big boys going. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Well, they're a defensively minded team, these Dallas Stars. Thank you for reminding me of that, Mr. Vicken. He is taking the under on these guys. Again, don't know a lot about them, but excited to watch them play. Ottinger, tough test. I want to see them break through and just score, average a goal and a half a period, and just not like, it just seems like they still have a little bit of that in them where they can't get that goal. They can't get that goal. And after this much runway into the season, the numbers for themselves are like, yeah, this team should score more bloody goals. And I don't mind the way they're playing more of a grindy playoff style of game where it's a 2-1 win instead of a 7-6 win or loss. Like, that's not the style I think that this team needs to be playing. And that's Craig Berube. And I do like that. But I wish these stars and this firepower could come together, just find some chem on 3 lines and just start rolling it and just be able to just keep rattling off the goals, because that's the one thing that can kind of stymie this team in the playoffs and has definitely done so in the past.
Make sure to get those super chats in and support us sick kids at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube right now. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, pretty please. At the Leafs Nation 401. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcasts, just search Leafs Morning Take. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review as well. Don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. So again, 6-3-0 since Austin Matthews returned to the lineup. Of note is the home and road splits. The Maple Leafs 14-4-0 at home. They're 5-6-2 on the road. I know you hate when I bring this up, but they've won 6 straight meetings with the Dallas Stars here, Rosie.
Hey, with my betting follies lately, I should just be following that more. I don't know. I've played on hockey teams before, and you're on a team, and they're like, 2 years ago, we beat this team twice in a row. I'm like, who the fuck cares? Like, that means nothing. That was 24 months ago. So I never really liked that stuff, but the patterns do follow a trend. And it seems like when the Leafs have a ton of success against a team, it just seems to continue. And when they struggle against a team, it seems to continue. And they're not teams that you would like expect, right? If you had to pick, like, they're random ass teams that have these little patterns in it. So I'm going to roll with you and put some stock into the fact that for several years now, they've had success against the Dallas Stars.
So maybe you're not the right person to ask this, but you're telling me in your career, wherever you played, whether it was England, the minors, the NHL, there weren't teams that you played well against, produced against, we'll say.
Oh, personally, I
Like,
felt
you'd
more.
wake up, you're like, shit, I'm playing this team today. It's points night. We're going to have a good night.
Yeah, I mean, there's weak teams in the league. I get that. And there's teams that I was maybe a little more comfortable or confident playing against than others. But I'm saying, if you're on a team and like every year your team looks quite a bit different and there's totally different feels and identities and you play different ways, and you're talking about what happened 3 years ago being, an indicator on what's going to happen tonight, I'm always just like, really? Are we going that far back? 12 games against the Dallas Stars? Like, talk to me about 3 years ago. Like, let's get real. That's just my kind of thing on there. I roll my eyes. But like I said, I'm going to eat it today because it just seems to be patterns that do continue. So I'm going to, as much as I roll my eyes at that stuff, Leafs seem to have those patterns that continue on. And that's happened this season as well. So I'll jump on board and simply apologize, Nick.
No apologies needed. I'm riding with the Leafs tonight, and it's good. It's perfect because you're not here tomorrow anyways. So if I'm incorrect, you'll forget about it by Friday
Yeah,
anyways, right?
probably. Very, very
Oh,
possible. I
yeah,
don't what kind of a memory do I have? Not an elephant, but a mouse or something like that.
a fish, a
Fish.
fish.
Fish memory,
Yeah.
that's right. Fish
Yes,
memory.
that's exactly it. So a lot of conversation in this market has been about the Nylander Matthews Marner line. They played 30 minutes together. Now they're the new perfection line in the NHL, dating back to the days in Boston where you had Marchand, you had Bergeron, you had Pasternak. I don't see this lasting. I know you complain a lot about line juggling. I think that's just an attempt to get the team going. I just don't like the balance. I love the combination. We have rarely seen it in the last decade, but I just don't like the balance if you go top heavy on the first line. I just don't.
Yeah, that's the drawback of putting all your best players together on the ice at one time. You can only play so many minutes. You can only be out there certain amounts of time. And if that was the case, when you're on the road, you get the last change and you can get screwed by it. And I like the depth of being able to have weapons throughout your lineup. And I think that it's a little bit heavy, and it's also sets up for them to maybe go back to their old school, be a little circusy. Those three boys
Hmm.
get together and they start juicing their talents. And oh baby, what kind of highlight reel package can we put on the highlights tomorrow? And I just foresee drop passes and no lookers and cross seam, waist high sauce, daddy's back door, blow up in your face. Everyone forgot about the high guy. Everyone forgot about the D zone, and they get a little carried away with the talent surrounding themselves. And I don't know. I just think spread that out. Those guys are good enough to make the plays and finish the plays kind of on their own, complemented by one guy here or there. But heating it up that much, I mean, fuck. I hope maybe it'll blow up in my face and they'll have 7-8 points combined on the line tonight, and that would be fantastic. And it is possible, but just long term, I think that's a little too heavy on one line.
Yeah, and I don't like the comparisons to the perfection line because you look at that line, each guy brought a different dynamic in Marchand and Bergeron and Pasternak, and not to say Marner, Matthews, Nylander are the same player, but they're close to the same dynamic. Like they're not as versatile in the way they can play as opposed to those other three guys. And again, it's way too early to draw comparisons. You put them together. Yeah, on paper, they have the most talent of any line in the league, but sometimes it just doesn't work. I mean, just a perfect example is the shit ass power play this team possesses, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at why they can't get that power play going. It does not make sense on paper at all. But maybe sometimes you get too many sergeants and not enough soldiers, and everyone wants to kind of have this like Willie plays like they play different styles. Willie and Mitch and Austin, they kind of play different styles. And I guess the goal is to have those styles complement each other, but sometimes there can be friction and it doesn't complement each other's styles. And that's what you get in trouble with. And then if you get all those guys together and you're using all your talent on the ice at one point in time, and then there's also points in times where they're all sitting on the bench. And when they are out there, they're not even accomplishing what you want, then that's obviously not going to last very long. But I understand why when Chief needs something to happen and he's not seeing it, and you throw them together just to say, hey, here's a stick of TNT to try to blow something up in this game, and it does work, you're going to go back to the well. And I get that. But like I said, we'll see how long it lasts. It's a little bit top heavy for me, and I like to see it spread out. But they're fully capable of just going lights out and dominating it. They're that talented. So we'll see how it works. But great point on, well, then why doesn't the power play dominate? Why isn't the power play just clicking? They look so freaking lost on the power play this year. They can barely get it over the blue line. Everyone's looking at each other and doesn't know who's doing what or where anyone's supposed to be. And they are absolutely making it up as they go, trying to maybe reinvent the wheel a little bit because everyone's got the talent and can handle this or that. And it just blows up in their hands. That is also possible tonight where they just can't seem to figure each other out there.
I've buried the lead, by the way. David Kampf, he's back. He missed 12 games, lower body injury, expected to center a line with Steven Lorentz and Ryan Reeves. And it seems like things are trending towards Connor Dewar being a healthy scratch in Dallas.
Yeah, I don't know, not world shaking news. Dewar was solid. He had some shining moments, but fuck, it didn't come.
Okay.
When you want
Yeah.
it needs to come out, but it won't. But if you were by yourself, it would just blow. Yeah, maybe it'll come back. But yeah, what I mean, Camp has been solid. If you just watch passively, you're like, who's that guy? I don't really. What does he do? And you look at his stat lines and on paper, whatever. But on draws and being defensively responsible and being in the right lanes and picking up the right guy and not getting caught on the wrong side of the puck. Just those little things that add up is the reason he was extended, is the reason he gets in the lineup, is the reason I think Chief likes him quite a bit. And it's for those reasons that he's doing the right things that don't show up in the highlight package, but they are certainly necessary. And we'll see how he looks tonight. Hopefully not rusty, but you can assure yourself that he's going to be paying attention to the details.
Maybe we see vintage David Kampf. I don't know what that entails, but I'm still waiting in the postseason for like a huge David Kampf goal. If he does that, then he's worth a 2.4 million bucks per season. That's the way I see it.
It is a lot of money for him, you know. They were obviously worried about losing him. They obviously had high value in him, and his agent went in there and must have dug his heels in a little bit, or
Pretty
maybe it
good.
was easy. I don't know, but that's a lot of cash for David Kampf. And you know, the thing is, the little things I described are the reasons that that he got that contract, and obviously the Toronto Maple Leafs value them as much as I was saying.
Fair enough. Before we get to the interview, I would tell everybody to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button at the Leafs Nation 401. Again, pound that subscribe button, pound that like button, especially and specifically for interviews like this one. The following interview is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers. Get custom ring building delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece program and an unbeatable pricing policy. Charm Diamond Centers is proudly Canadian owned and operated since 1972. With more than 85 locations across the country through Charm and their sister brands. For more information, go to charmdiamondcenters.com. Without further ado, Paul Bissonnette. What's going on, Biz? How are you, buddy?
Boy, it's great to be back on. What's shaking?
This is a monster one for us. I won't lie, man. Like,
What do you mean? I'm a fucking regular on this show now. Like, I
Are
come
you?
on once a month. You're asking me to come bag lick the Leafs every time I come on here. Let's do it, baby.
It's easy to
Let's
do
start.
these days. It's easy to do these days.
What a team, boys. What a
How about
team.
how about your month though? Like, is your head just fucking still spinning or what?
I feel like kind of coming down from it all. Yeah, I had this week off TNT regardless, so I get like 12 days at home. I'll go on some hikes. I'll get some massages. I'll kind of regroup, and then hey, back to work, man.
And
I tell everybody, like, legit playing in the American Hockey League prepared us for like this life and like what we do, and then including getting your face and head bashed in. Like that
well,
was a weekend for us, Rosie. Then you travel to the next city.
hey,
And then you'd unpack your gear at 2 a.m. and then you'd sleep at the Motel 8, and then you'd get up, you go to pregame, and you'd do it 2 more times that weekend.
3-3 with 4 fights was just an average little February weekend. Hey,
Yeah. And
I
I had
don't
to
want-
fight you on the Friday. So it was all downhill after that.
okay. I don't want to beat that dead horse, and I know that's winding down, but I cannot get over the fact that you went in there, Good Samaritan. I'm thinking, is this place full of 80 and 90-year-old men? All those fucking so-called men that stood there and watched what transpired, and not a goddamn guy in the place came to even attempt to maybe help you out in that situation. I am still mind blown by that.
So I get a lot of people are saying that, and it would have been nice at some point to have somebody come out, but maybe it was because by the time these people turned around and understood what was going on, there was just so many people and bodies involved. They might have been like, I don't even know who's on which team and why these guys are scrapping. I would have assumed they were aware of the fact that these 9 guys were being absolute donkeys to these managers for like an extended period of time, to where that's why I kept looking over being like, oh, like literally nobody's going to walk over. So I did. Rosie, did I think that they were going to start swinging? No, I thought they were going to kind of calm down and cool the jets. Oh, next thing you know, I'm at a CVS down the street 3 minutes later being like, what just happened?
Yikes. She happens fast out there,
Yeah.
boys. Well, I'm glad it's all behind you.
I needed you there, Rosie. I needed you. Just you. That would have been a good time.
I was interested to see how it looked, and of course, it's filmed on a fucking Nokia 64.
Yeah.
But I was interested to see how you were on your feet on the street, because I don't like that street shit too much. I'd rather be in a pair of skates. But fuck, it's a different ball game when you're planted feet, man.
Well, bud, and I lost one of my shoes right away, and then I lost another one like around the dumpster, or like I think it was when I knocked out the William Carroll. So I'm going on on bare feet on the cement too,
Oh yeah.
no tarp on, and then 2.5 minutes going, and I'm low on oxygen because I'm not in shape anymore. So
Yeah.
whatever, it's over now, buddy. Hopefully these guys pay the piper, and it's back to business as usual.
So, Biz, I checked my sources over at hockeyfights.com. You had 52 scraps in your NHL career. Was there a specific opponent or fight that compared to how you felt after fighting like 6 grown-ass dudes?
No, I'd say the most that I got my ass beat was in the American Hockey League, and it was by like John Morasti and Jeremy Oblonsky. And I don't know if I ever fought Sugden. I fought McGrattan. He never got me maybe as bad as Yablonsky did. Yablonsky was just like he was probably benching like 350, 400 pounds. He was so strong at the time, and we were in Binghamton, and he was running around, and they got a you remember, did you ever play there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
like just like the boards were cement, so I had to stick up for a teammate. He bambied me the first fight, and then we had a couple other fighters on our team, but they didn't want to fight him, so he ended up running our teammate again, and then I had to fight him again that same game, and then he bambied me. So that's why I say like then all like you're getting basically knocked out, and you're like you go black, and then you're having a hard time like getting your balance back. But back then we didn't go down the tunnel. I went to the penalty box because I didn't want to show weakness. So I'm in the penalty box being like, all right, I hope by the time I get to skate out of here that I feel normal again on my feet. Because he just finished knocking me out 2 times in the same game. So
Yeah.
am I saying like a KO where I'm out cold? No, but like when you get your bell rung where you're like, okay, I'm gonna be feeling this even in 3-4 days because my brain's swollen.
Well, I was gonna say we caught the very tail end of, oh, you just got your bell rung, like shake it off in the penalty box. But we were just got done talking to Brad May, and I mean, you know how guys get to, he's older than us, and he is chomping at the bit for another one. He wants nothing more than to get back on the ice and to get in a scrap. He misses every second of it. He does not one piece of it did he not enjoy. That's an old fucking warrior mentality right there, if I've ever seen one.
Those guys before us were tapped. Like
Yeah.
they're tapped. Like you said, they just like they couldn't get enough of it. They still have a little like we went and interviewed Tony Twist when we were in St. Louis. Same thing. That would be the type of guy where if he was at Houston's, he would have had 9 of those guys like eating or eating soup the next month because they'd all have broken jaws.
100%.
Well, Biz, we can talk about this till we're blue in the face. I was going to
Yeah, let's
mention your
talk
Raya
hockey.
profile I'm sure your Raya profile's been hot the last couple of days. I don't know what it is with Raya, by the way. I don't know if you've seen this. You can see dudes on there too. Like, did you see that?
When you go on the grid to show like
Yeah.
what city
I
you're
saw
in,
you here a couple months ago, man.
then it kind of just opens it up, which is like weird. I guess you can see all your buddies on it, but then you just when you go to like the search part, it's all girls. So I don't know exactly why it does that. Maybe they try to catch you on a weekend where maybe you're feeling a little frisky or something, but I don't
Okay.
I don't switch hit. I stick to the ladies, but hey, man, all the power to you. Do whatever you want to do. It's your dick, right?
Very well said, my friend. So
Right,
John
Rosie?
Tavares. Rosie, do you agree with that statement
It's
or what?
it's my dick, and I'll do what I want with it. Yeah, hey, that is as progressive as it's gonna get. Out of
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Hey,
True, I
man.
love it.
Do what you
It's our
want,
tagline.
buddy. It's your
It's
body.
true.
It's our tagline.
It's true.
I love it. I love it. That's our tagline here on this podcast. So I want to start with John Tavares. He's a talk of the town, gets a hattie over the weekend against the Buffalo Sabres. Do you think there's any correlation to dropping the captaincy, or is JT just doing his thing here?
I don't know. I think he's a very proud individual. I mean, it's a contract year, right? And I want to think that he wants to stop the narrative of like how his salary is this big anchor. Where I would say, based on the way he's played so far this year, I have no problem with what he's making, especially when the fact that Matthews ended up dropping off during his injury, and during that period of time, he elevated his play. And I mean, going back to last year's playoff and even the playoff before that, like I thought he was probably one of the more consistent Leafs. Like last year, he was great in the draw. Like, he was providing offense. He was responsible. Like I thought last year's playoff, he was one of their better players. So yeah, I would want him to remain a Leaf. As far as the captaincy coming off of him, maybe it was a little bit of weight and pressure off him where kind of like the guys who didn't make the Four Nations, like Hyman, all of a sudden that's over and done with, where now he's back to playing loose because he's not really worrying about it. Maybe it is. Like, I don't know if he's been asked that in the media there where he feels like that's part of it. I'm sure he would just say no. Like, he came into the season wanting to hand business as usual, prove a lot of people wrong, and just continue to help to get this team to the next level. I thought the way that he handled handing over the captaincy, like, he was nothing more than, like, he was so classy about it, and he's been such a classy Leaf. Was I crazy about the money that he was making? No, that's really been always my main complaint with the JT situation. But him making all that money ain't his fault. It was given to him. So couldn't be prouder of the way that he's handled himself, and a big reason as to why the Leafs are at the top of the division.
Yeah, he just continues to be JT. You look at Anthony Stolarz right now. Words dropped. He's 4 to 6 weeks out of here with tweak and getting a goddamn procedure done. It just, when it rains, it pours with the Leafs. It never seems to end. What's your take on the Leafs always saying day to day with these people? I understand you want to keep your cards close to your vest, but like, isn't it getting kind of silly at this point? These day to days turning into 6, 7, 8 weekers.
I don't know how they're assessing it, and maybe they're sending them to a more professional doctor where it takes a couple days to see him. Maybe the swellings that are coming out. I have no clue. I more like look at this. Like, I saw that tweet come out today, 4 to 6 weeks for Stolarz. He's been incredible. Probably the most consistent Leaf, other than maybe JT. But the amount of quality starts he's provided. But I look at this more like an opportunity for the Leafs. Like, they dealt with the situation of Matthews going down, and their power play was still second best in the league, and they still continued to win games. And the guys who are making all the money and have all the pressure elevated their play along with the rest of the group. So we, we have Joseph Woll, who is an incredible goalie, as a backup. And then we also had that third string. I'm drawing a blank here on Hildeby. Whereas, like, look at the job that Tree Living has done in the short amount of time of not panicking, making any crazy movies, solidified goaltending, where now we have a backup. We shouldn't be panicking. We should be looking at this like, this might happen come playoff time. How is Joseph Wall, our backup, going to react? And maybe if he's struggling a little bit, well, let's put the Hildeby in there, who had a great start to the year. So look at this like an opportunity. Like, you see the Lions head coach, is it Dan Campbell?
Yeah.
And he talked about them losing last week. And I just like his perspective on it is like, this is a great opportunity and challenge over the next 20 games for the Toronto Maple Leafs to like see what they can do and get some other guys going. And plenty of teams would deal with injury and adversity. Look at what Colorado dealt with at the start of the year. Look at how those top players managed that and got them back on track. So it's going to be, I think they are so well equipped with the coaching fit so far, the adjustment the team's made, the moves that Tree Living's made. I think they're genuinely two solid pieces away from like, hey, man, they're definitely a top 8 team. And then it's all about momentum and how the team's gelling. We all know that.
We got to get the rumor boys going then. Like, so you talk about the trade deadline, never too early to talk about potential trades. There's no secret they're going to be looking at centers. Anybody come to mind in terms of who you want in the Maple Leafs?
Yans is always mentioned, and I like him too, because I think he plays a very hard game and a very good 200-foot game, is Scott Lawton. He plays center in Philly, right? And I heard he's a very likable guy. He only makes $3 million. You probably would have to give up a decent return to not only have him this year and next year at $3 million, but scout him and approach it the way that I like, the way that Tampa makes trades. Like when they went out and got Coleman, when they went out and got Nick Paul. These aren't trades that are going to be like, wow, you got Gensel, but they're like, these are foundational pieces to where can JT and this person share the role of playing that second line center, where maybe JT, based on where he's at speed wise and where he could be comfortable still providing, is in a third line role for majority of that series, or maybe he matches up against that guy better. It's, to me, that and then maybe like another defenseman, if not 2 more forwards like that, to just really solidify that group up top. But like, even you got guys like Patches, like you've been seeing him throw the body around lately and really buying into what his new role would be as a player. It's just like nice to see that Leafs land should be very optimistic about what they have right now and where it's headed.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, as well as they're playing, Marner's been going. You talk about Johnny T and whatnot. They're kind of averaging, 2.97 goals a game, which seems a little low and makes me nervous to think about the times I've been sitting there in the playoffs going, come on, team, and they just can't score a goal. And maybe that's too reliant on the big boys. Maybe that's not enough depth. But are you just one piece away from kind of getting that, like with a Scott Lawton or a guy that you're talking about, or do you get
I think
concerned a little
you're
bit about that?
I think I look at it like Florida, where like he's not saying like these guys aren't going out there and scoring at will. Things can get hard. Teams can defend well at certain times. I want guys who can play and understand what's happening in real time in that game, where they're saying, man, they're shutting things down. They're waiting for us to make that mistake. We have to be okay playing that 2-1, 3-2 game. Like we have to be okay not being like, oh, we're used to just kind of being persistent about that and then opening things up. And then we kind of get our cookies and our goals because we're doing that against the bottom feeders of the NHL. You have to be able to go against the Floridas and Boston. You might meet Boston again first round and they might want to slop it up. They might want to fucking turn that game into quicksand and it's just like chipping pucks out and boring. You have to be able to understand how to adapt and also play that game, in my opinion, to limit other teams' opportunities. So when I see that, it's just more about like, well, maybe they're not cheating offensively to try to open that game up, and they're okay not taking that risk offensively. Where if 3 goals is enough to get you the win, then great. Kind of like Dan Campbell said, he goes, if we win 6-5, I'm going to be happy. If we win 2-1, I'm going to be happy. Like we just have to just fucking figure out how to win.
And maybe those numbers are the Berube effect. They're playing a smarter, tighter type of game that they're not used to playing. And I think it's way better suited for the playoffs. I mean, that might not be that number that's glaring at you might not be a bad thing. That could be just a byproduct of them playing smarter, more playoff style hockey.
I think that they're having to exert these players like Marner and Matthews and Will Nylander and the rest of the team. They're going to be asked to exert more energy in places that they've never done so far in their career. I'm not saying like they haven't maybe done it for a game here or there, but game in and game out, where there's an exhaustion to that. There's a sacrifice in playing that way to continually as a group apply pressure and get the it's going to take some time and getting used to, and being a little bit more physical than normal is also hard too. There's a fine line. I'm not saying you need to run around all game, but they're figuring things out in a different way, and it's nice to see.
Hey, I was going to ask you, we've talked about this quite a bit. Why has Ryan Reeves fought once this season? Like, do you have an opinion on that?
So I would have personally, if I was him, came in a little bit more aggressive. I don't know what the conversation with Berube and management was. Like, I know when I was playing with Dave Tippett, he would say, play. Like, if something happens organically, like Rosie, when I fought you that game, do you remember? Like, I looked back at Tippett because we were up 3-0.
Yeah, for sure.
He didn't want to give away any momentum, and neither did I. But you took it upon yourself to go at Donor. And it's like, well, that's what you do if you want a response. You don't go after, the 5th, 6th D-man. You don't go after maybe Radoslav Klesla. You go after Donor. Well, I look like a fool in my own building not to respond to that.
Yeah.
So I just like maybe with why they played Montreal first game. I would have fought Wi-Fi if that was me. I would have said, fucking, I'm the king of the castle here. Let's go. And then I probably would have fought. There was probably 2 other scenarios. And I think that they hosted the Rangers and I would have fought Rempe. But once again, maybe that was word from Berube being like, don't worry about them. Just fucking play. Sometimes that would be me too. And I did like the media or the fans' response of like, oh, like, why isn't he fighting? Because it was frustrating because I'm like, I'm just obeying my coach's orders.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where he was at on that. I think that now when he comes back from injury or is he back now?
He's back. Yeah.
He's back. I think he'll be a little bit maybe more active. Like you could still fight and be like, look at Olivier. Like Olivier is walking the balance of player and fighter better than anyone in the league. To me, he's the king of that position right now.
Yeah.
Because he's so effective on the ice. He's getting ice time. He's producing with that ice time. And if you look at him the wrong way, he is going to take his gloves off and beat your face in. So that is the element that I'm looking for of like fear in a top dog. So I don't want to be too critical of Reeves. In my position, I would have been way more aggressive with my fighting if it was under my control if I was him.
Fair enough. I mean, we had this debate last week. What happens first? Max Domi scores his first goal. Ryan Reeves has his first scrap, and Domi scores the goal. So there's your answer. Biz, excellent stuff. Happy to see you're okay. I was going to ask you too, what's your go-to order at Houston's?
I usually start with the traditional salad. I go with the Thousand Island. Sometime as another appetizer, like I might get like if there's like a soup or a stew or sometimes I might be feeling the shrimp cocktail. Why are you laughing?
Just your breakdown's exquisite. I love
Yeah,
it.
and then I usually go with the rotisserie chicken. Like the fillet they got, the steak on the menu. I guess they got this ribeye with pineapple that's kind of in season sometimes, or it's like a hidden item on the menu. I don't even think I've ever gotten that. The French dip is incredible. So I usually though stick with the fillet and the chicken on a regular basis. And sometimes if I'm feeling frisky, I go off the beaten path.
Taking care of
did
the
you eat
body,
before-
Biz.
Taking care.
Did you eat before or after the scrap? Like, what did it happen before? Did you get your
Buddy,
food first or no?
I literally put my salad order in. And as I
Cool.
finished it, I looked up at the waitress and she was looking at the bar and her expression was what led me to look over there. And then I heard the gentleman yelling in the assistant manager's face. So I never even got my salad. I was waiting for my salad. Like she eventually walked away. And that's when I kind of turned over. And I turned over again to look with both eyes, being like, am I fucking seeing this guy get in this guy's face? Like at Houston's? Like what happened over there? Like did they fuck up his traditional salad? Like I know I've gotten a little upset if they fuck up the traditional salad, but
True.
that never happens at Houston's.
Yeah.
Things
no.
escalated from a traditional salad very quickly, and I think you deserved a lot more than a salad after that one, Biz. We
Yeah.
appreciate your time, man. Good for you.
Oh, great chatting with you boys. And do you guys agree with like you guys are happy with where the Leafs are at and you're liking what you're seeing?
Yeah, we get in the fucking weeds in this thing, and we get such a magnifying glass going on that we want it to be perfect. And I know that's the market, but fuck, dude, are they in as good a place as they've ever been? I attribute it all to Berube and like Nyes and these guys that have kind of come on and just everything's worked out. But they're playing a style of hockey that we've been begging for them to play for a while now, and I think it's special. It could
Don't
be
say
special.
it. Don't say it.
What do you
Special.
make of Nylander, Marner, and Matthews playing together?
It's like it's either gonna win you the game or you're just gonna have too many ducks in one basket, eggs in one basket, and it's gonna be too heavy. I don't know. He keeps trying to find that formula, right? Of like this is perfect. And I hope on day one of the playoffs they've just got it spread out so perfectly and everyone's clicking that no one can fucking stop this crew.
I'm going to give all you Leafs fans a hockey boner before I leave. Stanley Cup final, Oilers, McDavid, Hyman, and Draisaitl going up against the big three for Toronto Maple Leafs. Could you imagine that?
No, I can't.
Okay, that's a Felix ad right there. Get some Viagra in you. Get a little hockey Cialis.
Get some blood flow going, boys.
Get a little blood
Hey,
flow going for Leafs Nation.
I felt that way when they announced David Kampf was coming back on Wednesday. So we'll leave it at that, buddy.
Big news.
That's a needle
Thanks,
mover.
Biz.
Well, thank you,
Yeah.
boys, and be well, and appreciate your time as always.
All right, we'll take care.
Man, that was a lot of fun. Biz Nasty is the best, exudes confidence and just energy and personality. He's perfect for a podcast.
Oh, he's got personality, all right. He's quite the character, and we appreciate having him on. And he has had a hell of a month, as I mentioned at the beginning. There was lots happening in the guy's life, but he told us how he likes to keep that calm with some massages and some hikes, which is not very Biz Nasty, if you ask me.
It's very zen, but man, I was just howling as you guys saw over the order at Houston's. Like again, I thought he was just gonna be like, yeah, I like the ribeye, but he had like an extensive 2-minute breakdown of what he orders, and we did get to the bottom of the fact that he hadn't eaten yet. He barely had his order in for his salad, and then all hell broke loose there at Houston's.
Did you hear his order, though? He was in a diner. It was a few weeks ago, and it was the most high-maintenance order I've ever seen in my life. He's like one of those diva guys at a restaurant, I think, and I doubt very much that order he was describing was actually on the menu.
Who's Felix? It's an ED and health app, by the way, and company. We got some questions in the chat about that at the end of the interview. There just a couple memorable moments in that interview for sure. What was the dick line?
Just I'll do whatever I want with it. It's my horn or something like that. Hey,
Yeah, my dick. Yeah.
there's another way to say love who you want to love, right?
Exactly. Accountability, as mentioned earlier on, is big. You swore. Leaf Nation 67 counted. You said, I think there were 4 F-bombs in that interview. What can you say about that?
Oh, an interview? That's off.
Oh, sorry. Different grounds. We can swear in interviews. My mistake.
If it's a pre-recorded interview, how do you count that? Are you crazy, lady?
You're such a fraud. It's time for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use code NATION, all in uppercase today. So I mentioned earlier on, I'm on the Leafs, Rosie. I'm also on a Bobby McMann anytime goal. The dude's been buzzing since coming back into the lineup. He's a bit stymied. I think Bobby scores tonight, and I like the Leafs to win this game.
Stymied. What's Bobby McMahon paying out these days? Keep going. Oh, 425 anytime. Not bad, not bad, not bad. I dig it, man. I'm just heavy on the Leafs. I got them on the money line, and then I got them on the 3-way to win in regulation too. And I'm kind of curious right now because what are they right now? Plus 115 on the money line and plus 180 on the 3-way. And that has jumped considerably since the start of this show. No news that I haven't heard about. Maybe that's when Ottinger went in net. That's why it jumped. I don't know. We'll see, though.
Wait, let me just have a little quick look here.
It's nice, healthy value. And I have dumped the rest of the account onto the Maple Leafs tonight after what went wrong? I can't remember. Every time I'm like, oh, this is a guarantee. I do it on trap games and they get smacked and I just want to break my phone. But the value's there tonight and the W is going to be there.
I do think the value is there. That is for certain. It's not going to be a walk in the park. The Dallas Stars are a really good team. But again, traditionally, the Leafs in the last 6 meetings have won all 6 with Dallas. So I'm just going to ride the wave of the data, man. Sometimes you just got to do that in the betting world. In support of Sick Kids, Tammy's got a super chat. We all know my anchorman tendencies. I'm not going to bite for this one, but she said, Nick, read this. And it's like, blah, 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 blah. But thank you for the super chat, Tammy. I've learned a bit from last week. Pardon me?
What was it about? She's just chirping you for your,
no, remember last week I mentioned anything you put on my screen, I will read. So Tammy sent us a super chat and said, read this, but it's just like a bunch of nothing.
Oh, I see Tammy. Show your face, Tammy. She's the most mysterious person in the chat at this point in time, if you ask me.
Tammy, if I'm telling you right now, you better be on that nation vacation in Nashville. Honestly, the trip depends on Tammy showing face on this trip. So you better be there. GoFundMe. I don't know what you guys need to start in the chat. Tammy's got to be there.
And Nick's single.
What? No, I'm not, man. That means
be in the air, starting in Nashville, boys.
No, holiday love, buddy. Holiday love. I'm in a relationship.
You are not.
No, I'm not. Anyways, great stuff today, you guys in the chat. Fantastic. Great stuff. Love the interview with Biz. If you appreciated that, please hit that like, hit that subscribe button at the Leafs Nation 401. You're gone tomorrow. You're going to be back on Friday, right?
Yeah, boy.
Sick. Okay. Okay. Carter Hutton's in the mix tomorrow. We're going to break down this game, look ahead to the back-to-back against Buffalo and then the New York Islanders on Saturday. Thank you to producer Vic. Again, thank you to everybody in the chat. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. Take care. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.